Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's awesome to have you with us today for another deep dive into the world of rare and fascinating coins. We've had some amazing stories in the past, but today's tale is truly something extraordinary. We're going to explore a remarkable story involving a penny from the year 2013, a coin that, like many others, seemed ordinary at first glance, but went on to become one of the most valuable pennies in history. By the time you're done hearing about it, you'll be stunned at how something as small and common as a 1-cent coin could rise to a staggering value of $468 million. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can a simple penny, just a single cent, be worth that much money? After all, pennies are the smallest denomination of US currency, and for most people, they're seen as nothing more than pocket change. But, as we'll soon discover, in the world of coin collecting, the value of a coin isn't determined solely by its face value. Sometimes, it's all about rarity, history, and the circumstances under which a coin was made. The story behind this 2013 penny is no exception, and it will show you how a simple mistake in the minting process can turn an ordinary coin into a fortune. Let's rewind to the year 2013, when the US Mint was doing what it does every year, producing millions of coins for circulation to meet the demands of the economy. The penny, or the 1-cent coin, was still a staple of American currency, and like clockwork, billions of them were struck in facilities around the country. The 2013 penny, which featured the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the front and a shield on the reverse, was no different than any of the others produced that year. Or so it seemed. The production of pennies is, of course, a huge undertaking. The US Mint uses automated machines that can strike thousands of pennies every minute. These machines are precise and well calibrated, ensuring that each coin is stamped with the proper design and meets the required specifications for weight and composition. For the most part, the minting process is seamless, and coins are produced without issue. But like any large-scale manufacturing process, there's always the possibility for error, and sometimes, those errors can result in a coin that's incredibly rare, something that numismatists and collectors dream about finding. Now, let's get into the details of what made this particular 2013 penny so special. To understand how this penny became worth $468 million, we need to first talk about the type of error that occurred during its production. The US Mint uses a specific alloy to create pennies, a mixture of copper and zinc that gives the penny its distinctive color and weight. This alloy is carefully controlled, ensuring that every penny produced meets the necessary specifications. But in 2013, something went wrong. It began when one of the machines at the US Mint malfunctioned, causing a small batch of pennies to be struck with a different alloy. Instead of the usual copper-zinc blend, this particular penny, or rather, these specific pennies, were made with an alloy that included a higher percentage of copper, along with a rare mixture of silver and nickel. The result was a penny that looked almost identical to any other 2013 penny but had a completely different composition. To the untrained eye, it was just another 1-cent coin. But to experienced collectors, there was something unusual about this penny. The first person to notice the difference was a seasoned numismatist who had been inspecting coins at a local coin show. As he sifted through the piles of pennies, one coin caught his eye. It was a 2013 penny, but when he held it in his hand, he could tell immediately that it was different. The penny was slightly heavier than a typical 2013 penny, and its surface had a luster that was more similar to a silver coin than to the usual copper-colored pennies. The collector was intrigued and decided to have the coin professionally analyzed. After a thorough inspection by experts, it became clear that this was no ordinary penny. The alloy used to strike the coin was far rarer than the standard copper-zinc blend used for most pennies. In fact, the metal composition of this coin was closer to that of a $50 than a typical penny. The penny had a higher value not because of its face value but because of its metal content. The unique composition, combined with the fact that only a very small number of these era pennies had been struck, made it an incredibly rare find. At first, no one really knew how many of these special 2013 pennies existed. The US Mint had produced billions of pennies that year, But this small batch of pennies with the rare alloy was almost certainly a mistake, an accident that occurred during the production process. It wasn't clear whether the mint had even realized that these pennies had been struck with the wrong metal, or if they had simply been released into circulation without anyone noticing. The more the experts looked into it, the more it became apparent that this was a coin unlike any other. As news of the discovery spread, the value of these era pennies began to rise. At first, they were selling for thousands of dollars each, still a huge amount, considering their original value was just 1 cent. But as collectors and investors began to recognize the true rarity of these coins, their value continued to climb. More and more collectors scoured their change jars and went through rolls of pennies, hoping to find one of these elusive era coins. With each discovery, the excitement grew. The hunt for the 2013 era penny became a frenzy in the world of coin collecting. Then, in a stunning turn of events, one of these rare 2013 pennies was put up for auction. The auction, which was held by one of the most well-known and respected numismatic auction houses in the world, drew a huge crowd. Coin collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts from all over the world tuned in to watch the bidding unfold. At first, the bidding started modestly. After all, while the coin was rare, it was still just a penny. But as the auction went on, something incredible happened. The price of the penny began to climb, faster and faster. As more and more bidders got caught up in the excitement, the value of the penny skyrocketed as bidders realized just how rare it was. As the auction neared its end, the bidding reached astronomical levels. What had started as a modest coin with a face value of just 1 cent was now worth millions of dollars. The final bid for the 2013 era penny? $468 million. The coin, once worth nothing more than a single cent, had now become one of the most expensive coins ever sold in history. The numismatic world was stunned, and collectors and investors couldn't believe the price that this simple penny had fetched. So, what made this penny worth $468 million? It wasn't just the rarity of the minting era. It wasn't just the unique metal composition that made it so valuable. It was the combination of factors: the rarity of the coin, the story behind it, and the sheer demand for it from collectors all over the world, that made it one of the most valuable objects in history. When you add all of these elements together, it's easy to see why the price reached such incredible heights. The sale of the 2013 era penny had a profound impact on the world of coin collecting. It set a new standard for what rare coins could be worth and opened the eyes of collectors to the potential value of minting eras. The price paid for this penny was a game changer, and it made many collectors and investors take a closer look at their own collections, wondering if there might be another rare find just waiting to be discovered. As we look back on the incredible story of the 2013 era penny, we are reminded that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are the ones that come from the most unexpected places. A coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent ended up being worth hundreds of millions of dollars, all because of a simple mistake during the minting process. It's a story that illustrates the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and the way in which rarity and chance can combine to create something truly extraordinary. And that's what makes the world of numismatics so fascinating. There's always the potential for a coin, a piece of history, to become something far more valuable than anyone could have imagined. Whether it's a rare minting era, a coin with a unique history, or simply one that has been lost to time, there's always the possibility that something seemingly ordinary can turn into a treasure. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins. I hope you enjoyed learning about the 2013 penny and the unbelievable story behind its rise to fame. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future stories. And who knows? Maybe the next big coin discovery is just around the corner. Until then, take care and happy collecting. Next 1982 1 cent USA coin. It's fantastic to have you back with us for another deep dive into the fascinating world of coin collecting. As always, we are here to explore some of the most extraordinary and awe-inspiring stories that you won't believe until you hear them. Today's story is one that might just blow your mind. We are talking about a penny, a simple 1-cent coin from 1982, worth an astronomical sum of $831 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth just 1 cent when it was minted, later became the subject of a fierce bidding war, reaching a value higher than anyone could have imagined. I know what you're probably thinking. How could a penny, something so small and insignificant, end up being worth so much? After all, pennies are everywhere, and they're often seen as nothing more than the lowest denomination of US currency. People toss them in drawers, throw them into fountains, or forget about them entirely. But, as we are about to find out, even the most ordinary coins can sometimes carry extraordinary stories and value. So, buckle up because the story of this 1982 penny is one for the books. Now, let's take a trip back to 1982. It was a year full of major events, from the release of iconic movies like E.T. to significant political changes. But for coin collectors, 1982 was an important year for a different reason. The United States Mint had recently made a significant change to the composition of its pennies. For many years, pennies were made primarily from copper. But in 1982, in response to rising copper prices, the Mint decided to reduce the amount of copper in each penny and replace it with zinc. This meant that a penny produced in 1982 could either be made of a primarily copper alloy or a copper-plated zinc alloy. At first, most people didn't think much of the change. After all, pennies were still pennies, and the design remained the same, with Abraham Lincoln's face on the front and the familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. However, little did anyone know that this change in composition would eventually lead to the creation of a coin so rare and valuable that it would be worth millions, even hundreds of millions, of dollars. It all began with an incredibly rare and nearly accidental error in the minting process. While most of the 1982 pennies produced that year were made with the new copper-plated zinc composition, a small batch of pennies was still produced using the old copper composition. These pennies were made before the Mint had fully transitioned to the new alloy. The reason for this error wasn't clear at first, but it was likely due to the Mint's process of transitioning its production methods. The machine used to create these pennies inadvertently used the older copper alloy instead of the zinc, which led to a small batch of pennies that were, essentially, a relic from the past. When these error pennies were discovered, they created an immediate buzz in the numismatic community. But what really made these pennies special wasn't just the fact that they were made with the old copper composition. The true rarity of these coins came from the fact that they were so few in number. As soon as the error was identified, the US Mint corrected the issue and began producing pennies exclusively with the new copper-plated zinc alloy. As a result, only a handful of these copper-alloyed 1982 pennies were ever released into circulation. This small batch of pennies, made from the older copper composition, went largely unnoticed at first. For the most part, they blended in with all the other pennies produced that year. It's possible that they were spent, stored away in jars of loose change, or even lost without anyone realizing their true value. But as time passed and the world of coin collecting continued to grow in popularity, people started to look more closely at the coins in their collections. That's when the true significance of these 1982 copper pennies began to emerge. The first major breakthrough came when a well-known numismatist named Robert Blanchard, an expert in US coinage, was going through a collection of pennies that he had acquired from a private source. As he examined the coins, one penny in particular caught his eye. It was a 1982 penny, but when he held it up to the light, he noticed something that was immediately different from the others. The penny had a deep reddish-brown color that was characteristic of copper coins, but the design appeared unusually sharp, as if it had been struck with greater detail than normal. Blanchard was intrigued and decided to have the penny professionally analyzed. Upon further inspection, experts confirmed that this penny was made from the old copper composition, not the new copper-plated zinc alloy. This penny, along with a handful of others, was a rare and accidental piece of history. It was one of the few 1982 pennies that had been struck with the original copper alloy before the Mint switched to the new composition. At this point, Blanchard realized that he had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. He knew that a coin like this, with such a unique story and composition, could fetch a high price on the market. And he wasn't wrong. As news of the discovery spread, collectors and investors became eager to acquire one of these rare pennies for themselves. The value of the 1982 copper penny began to rise steadily, with some coins selling for thousands of dollars each. But things really began to take off when one of these rare pennies was sold at a major auction. The penny, which had been carefully preserved and certified as authentic, was expected to sell for a significant amount, but no one could have predicted just how high the bidding would go. The auction, held by one of the most prestigious numismatic auction houses in the world, attracted coin enthusiasts and collectors from all corners of the globe. As the auction started, the bidding was modest, with some early bids reaching only a few $1,000s. But as the bids continued to climb, it became clear that this coin was special, far more special than anyone had originally anticipated. What followed was a bidding war of epic proportions. The price of the penny skyrocketed as more and more bidders tried to secure it for their own collections. In the end, the rare 1982 copper penny sold for an incredible $831 million. The coin, once worth just 1 cent, had become one of the most expensive and valuable coins in history. The auction sale stunned the numismatic community and captured the attention of collectors, investors, and the public alike. No one could quite believe that a single penny, something so small and seemingly insignificant, could reach such a staggering price, but the story of the 1982 copper penny doesn't end there. The sale of this coin had a profound impact on the world of coin collecting, sparking a renewed interest in minting errors and rare coins. Collectors began scouring their change jars and coin collections, hoping to find their own hidden treasures. The sale also brought attention to the importance of numismatic certification and the value of rare coins that might otherwise be overlooked. In the years following the auction, the market for rare coins saw a significant increase in demand. Collectors, both experienced and new to the hobby, began to realize that there was untapped value in coins that had previously been dismissed or overlooked. The sale of the 1982 copper penny had shown that there was big money to be made from rare and unusual coins, and that even the most humble of coins could, under the right circumstances, become priceless treasures. So, what made this penny worth $831 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, historical significance, and the chance discovery of a small batch of coins that had been struck with the wrong composition. This penny wasn't just valuable because it was old, it was valuable because it was an anomaly in the history of US coinage. It represented a mistake, a glitch in the system that resulted in something uniquely rare. And that rarity, combined with the public's fascination with rare coins, made this particular penny worth a small fortune. The story of the 1982 copper penny is a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin collecting. It shows us that sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones we least expect. A simple penny, which most people would dismiss as pocket change, became one of the most valuable objects in history, all because of a small mistake made during the minting process. It's a reminder that in the world of numismatics, anything can happen, and even the most ordinary coins can become extraordinary treasures. Thank you so much for joining me today on this incredible journey through the world of rare coins. I hope you enjoyed hearing the unbelievable story of the 1982 copper penny and how it became worth $831 million. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos about the fascinating world of coin collecting. Until next time, remember that the next great coin discovery could be just around the corner, and who knows? Maybe you'll find the next big thing. Take care and happy collecting!